Hi, everybody. My name is Allison Wells, and welcome to SEL Dallas Reads. So this week we are talking about collaboration, and our book will be one of my favorites and just the sweetest, so near and dear to my heart, Lost and Found Cat. So this is based on the true story of Kun Kush's incredible journey, basically almost around the whole world. And this is written by Doug Kuntz and Amy Schroeds and illustrated by Sue Cornelison. I am a pet and animal lover, and of course cats are my true favorites, as I have 3 currently, and I grew up with 4, and I've had a few others here and there in my life as well. So this story gets me right in the heartstrings. I get pretty emotional, so I will try to stay calm during this reading, but hopefully the idea and the support and the themes of collaboration that you'll see in this story will provoke something in yourself as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. All right, we are back and we'll begin our story. Now, we do have a listening word for this story. The name of the cat that this book is about is Kunkush. So anytime you hear me say Kunkush, that will be our listening word. Let's do funny cat ears. So the true story of Kunkush's incredible journey. Again, this is Lost and Found Cat, written by Doug Kuntz and Amy Schroeds, and illustrated by Miss Sue Cornelison. All right, let's hear about Kunkush's incredible journey. So late one night in August 2015, a car driven by a smuggler snuck out of the city of Mosul in the country of Iraq. The smuggler's passengers were a mother and her 4 daughters and 1 son. Their father had recently died. Surah, the mother, had paid the smugglers to help her family flee the country. Mosul had become too dangerous. A few days earlier, the family had gotten ready to leave. Since they could only bring what they could carry, they had packed just 1 bag full of food and water. They would buy clothes later. But Surah had decided they could not leave without their beloved cat, Kunkush. Surah prayed that the cat, hidden in a small carrier, would stay quiet. If the smuggler discovered Kunkush, he would make her pay a great deal more money. So, as a pet lover myself, again, I could totally empathize. I could never leave my cats, my sweet little babies, if I had to flee or go somewhere else to another country. I just can't imagine. 2 hours later, the car stopped and they were told to get out. Another smuggler met them and led them on foot through forests and over mountains, stopping only to eat and sleep in the woods. Surah feared for her children. Wahab, who was 18, Hakam, 16, Naab, 11, Albab, 10, and Ansab, 9. But they saw it as an adventure, often singing as they walked during the 3-day journey. Can you imagine walking and traveling through the woods for 3 days, hiding? Sarah and her son, Hakam, took turns carrying Kunkush at the back of the line, so that if the cat meowed, the smuggler would not hear him. And whenever they stopped to rest, Surah took Kunkush behind some trees to let him out and feed him. That's got to be so scary to make sure that the cat is not making noise so they won't get caught. On the fourth day, they reached a Kurdish village where another smuggler was waiting to take them to Istanbul, Turkey in a bus. While the smuggler drove, the family had to be on the lookout for the patrols trying to catch them. The family stayed in the city for 2 weeks, moving from one apartment to another. At least Kunkush could wander freely inside. Again, this is so scary. My heart just goes out to any and all families that have ever had to make an escape from a country that became dangerous and find refuge somewhere else and quietly carry an animal with them that can't be seen or make noise. Finally, it was time to cross the Aegean Sea to Greece. The family boarded another bus and drove to a place called Izmir on the Turkish coast. Then they walked 3 hours along the beach until they were told to put on life jackets. The Greek island of Lesbos was 6 miles across the water. Kunkush and his family were crammed aboard a flimsy rubber boat. It was meant to carry only 25 people, but there were more than 60 men, women, and children on the boat, plus one secret cat. So not only is their journey already incredibly dangerous and they're already fearful, not only exhausted after the days of walking and traveling and sneaking around, moving from place to place, now they're having to cross the sea to get to another land, another island that's on a boat that's probably not safe enough already, plus it's packed with more than 4 times the amount of people that it could hold. And almost as soon as the overcrowded boat launched, it began taking on water because it was too heavy. From the shore, people shouted at the passengers to throw their belongings overboard to make the boat lighter, but most refused. Sura tried to hold Kunkush's carrier above the water until a wave drenched them all. The sinking boat had to return to shore as a crush of people got off. Kunkush's carrier door was broken. Determined to make the crossing, Sura told her kids to stay aboard. The boat launched again, but this time with fewer passengers. Sura was scared because only her son Hakam could swim. But her daughters were unconcerned, enjoying the ride in the sun after weeks of hiding. The 3-hour crossing to Lesbos felt like it flew by thanks to their excitement. Volunteers in Greece waited on the shore to help the hundreds of refugees arriving every day. And as soon as the boat reached the beach, panicking, shivering passengers scrambled to get off. Hakam splashed ashore with Kunkush and put the carrier on dry land. Then he hurried back to help his mother off the boat. But don't forget, they said his carrier got broken during that scramble before. Wet and frightened, Kunkush pushed his way out of the broken door of his carrier, and he quickly disappeared into the forest like a deer. Because he was so scared too, he didn't know what was going on. With his carrier broken, he got out. While the rest of the boat passengers were loaded onto a bus to continue their journey, the family refused to leave without their cat. Several volunteers helped them look for Kunkush, and they searched for hours. At last, they had to give up. The heartbroken family needed to leave, taking the next step toward their new home. I would be absolutely crushed and devastated, as I'm sure they were. But they had no choice. In a little fishing village on Lesbos, near where Kunkush's family had arrived, there lived a colony of island cats. No one owned them, but fishermen kept them well fed. A few days after Kunkush's family had left, volunteers noticed a white cat hanging around the local cafes. The white cat's fur was filthy and matted. He looked like he was starving. The local cats seemed to know he was a stranger, because they hissed and spat and chased him away. Poor Kunkush can't get a break anywhere. One of the volunteers, Amy, told her friend and fellow volunteer, Ashley, about the cat she'd seen. Could this white cat be the one the family had lost? After questioning villagers and searching the island, Amy and Ashley found the white cat and took him to a local vet. The doctor shaved the cat's matted, filthy fur. She gave him his shots and other medicines. But this cat needed a name for now. The doctor suggested Diaz to give him strength. Diaz is the Greek name for Zeus, the king of the ancient Greek gods. The friends took Diaz back to Amy's apartment. His shaved fur was still full of sand and bugs, so Amy bathed and scrubbed him until he was clean. 5 minutes after his bath, the exhausted cat collapsed face down, mid-meow, and slept. Diaz stayed with Amy for over a month. Often he prowled around her apartment, yowling loudly. Amy believed he was looking for his family. Well, I'm glad poor baby Kunkush is at least getting some love and care now. But yes, cats remember and know their owners. They're really smart, even though some people don't know that they are. So I'm sure that he is crying and searching, looking for his family. Amy and her friends were determined to reunite Diaz with his family. But where were they? Volunteers created flyers, and Amy's friend Michelle, back in the United States, made a Facebook page for him. People contributed money to help pay for his medical care and travel. And before long, news stories about the lost cat appeared around the world. Millions of people saw the videos, articles, and Facebook updates about Diaz. He had become famous. So that is one great thing about social media, is that news can travel fast and to anywhere in the whole world. Amy was fairly sure that Diaz's family had left Greece. Many of the refugee families had traveled to Germany. And since Amy's time in Lesbos was ending, she made plans to take Diaz to Germany. She and Diaz flew to Berlin, where a British couple named Emma and Simon had agreed to take care of him and continue the search. If his family could not be found after a year, they would simply adopt him. So I really hope that he finds his family, but if not, we know that at least someone will be taking care of him. And then, on Valentine's Day, the family saw their lost cat on a news website. The oldest daughter, Rehab, who had learned some English, contacted Amy and her friends through Facebook. Everyone had been looking in the wrong place. The family was living in Norway, not Germany. Rehab told Amy that Diaz's real name was Kunkush. The volunteers arranged a Skype visit. And when the family saw the fluffy white cat on the screen, they called Kunkush, and his ears perked up. He started searching for his family. So glad they were all found. A photographer named Doug in Lesbos and Germany, to show the refugees' story to the world, agreed to fly with Kunkush from Germany to Norway. But when he got to the airport in Berlin, the supervisor behind the counter told him he could not board the plane. "The carrier is too small," she said with a sniff. By this time, a crowd had gathered around Doug and his yowling white cat. Doug pleaded with her. He told her the carrier was the right size. But the carrier is so small the cat cannot turn around, she snapped. At that moment, Kunkush made a dramatic 180-degree turn inside his carrier. The crowd laughed, and the supervisor grudgingly agreed to allow them onto the plane. Well, thank goodness he's finally getting on his plane to go somewhere. But that is true and frustrating. You want to make sure that if you are traveling with an animal or your cat, that the carrier is the appropriate size for the animal. In Norway, Doug rented a car and drove 2 hours to the family's new home. They were waiting eagerly for him. So was a team of camera people and reporters. Sura opened the door and blinked at the bright lights of the cameras. Then she burst into tears as Doug placed Kunkush in her arms. Mahabiba, she murmured, and that's Arabic for my darling. The entire family crowded around their long-lost pet. And after 4 months and thousands of miles, Kunkush and his family were finally together in their new home. We are all safe now, said Sura. And that is the end of our book. But here, and in the back of a hard copy of the book, if you get it, you'll see Kunkush's journey. So all the way to the right corner of the mat, Iraq, through Turkey and Greece, all the way up through Europe to Germany, Berlin, and then even going farther north to Norway. So that is such a long time and a long way for an animal to travel. And as we said, it took about 4 months. So you can read a little bit about Doug and Amy. And sadly, here at the end of the letter, in 2016, Kunkush unfortunately passed away from a virus. But he was surrounded by his family, luckily. He was absolutely loved unconditionally. And here are some real-life pictures of the family and Kunkush. Such a sweet, sweet, sweet baby. Pictures of them reuniting finally after so long. Well, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon for SEL Dallas Reads and discussing collaboration. So I think our book, Lost and Found Cat, was just a great example of how the entire world collaborated and worked together to help save Kunkush and to bring the lost cat back to his family months and countries and miles later. So I want you to think, what can you do? How can you collaborate to make the world a better place, to save a pet, an animal, to help reunite a lost pet or animal back with their family? Or in general, how can you collaborate or work with your friends or family or your class and fellow students to do something big, to make a change? And know that you don't have to do it all. It's just about taking little steps, bite-sized pieces. And of course, working with others, collaborating is what can accomplish a huge project. You're not alone. So I hope that heartwarming tale pulled at your heartstrings a little bit like it did mine. And again, my name is Allison Wells. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you next time.